Committee on Small Business and Entrepreneurship will come to order. I want to thank all of you for being here. I want to and really thank our witnesses for being a part of this today. The title of the hearing is Made in China 2025 and the Future of American Industry. And it's really applicable given both conversations going about the trade issues, but also the impact that it has on small businesses, more importantly than just the huge impact that global trade can have on small businesses and huge disruptions in trade and changes in those dynamics it can have on small businesses. And it's when the history of this century is written, I believe that one of the defining factors, if not the defining factor, will be the relationship between the United States and China on multiple fronts. We see a threat to American competitiveness that is unprecedented in recent memory and recent history from an all-of-government approach that we see from China. We've not encountered anything like this, as I said, but unlike our previous competitors, they've developed tremendous commercial power that they've been able to use against American interests across the world. While the challenge we face with the Chinese government is ultimately one of national security and more fundamentally about whether or not in the future of the world, whether the future of the world will be marked by authoritarianism, one of the most immediate concerns that we face, especially as it applies to small business, comes in the form of China's industrial policy. Their government has a plan. It's called Made in China 2025. It's a plan for industrial dominance in 10 key technological sectors, some of which the U.S. is the current global leader, all of which in these industries will set the tone for the 21st century economy. For Chinese companies to meet the production targets that the plan sets out, their success will have to be at the expense of the United States. To some extent, this is already happening. The initial period following China's accession to the World Trade Organization witnessed a devastation to American small and medium-sized manufacturers in concentrated areas throughout the country, an effect that is now known as the China shock. Understanding the goals of Made in China 2025, we must decide whether the shock should be allowed to expand up the value chain and across industries. I, for one, believe that this cannot be allowed to happen. The committee produced a report, was recently released, titled Made in China 2025 and the Future of American Industry. It lays out the challenges posed by the whole of society industrial plan, as well as a potential path forward to strengthen American economic security. One thing is clear, just as business firms compete, so do nations. Through plans like Made in China 2025, the Chinese government has set its sights on many of the high-value industries and businesses that America simply cannot afford to lose. Through this whole-of-society strategy, the Chinese government attempts to steal and subsidize and ultimately compete its way to the top of the global production value chain. In sum, they aim to supplant American industrial leadership by any means necessary, including illegal ones. Fortunately, our system contains intrinsic advantages that their totalitarian system does not. Our market-based economy and free society operate with an efficiency and openness that is impossible in China's command and control regime. American freedoms and the open exchange of ideas attract talented and idealistic individuals from across the globe who contribute to the continuous building of our nation's capabilities. American ingenuity and innovation, in combination with our political freedoms, have created the world's most successful and most forward-thinking companies. Small businesses, which support dignified work, strengthen families, and sustain communities, are particularly susceptible to the dangers of state-backed import competition. Trade normalization with China occurred with the optimistic promise of fair market access, economic liberalization, and an improvement in Chinese political and human rights. However, instead of opening, China took advantage by discounting international trade rules and norms to the detriment of American productive capabilities. Chinese industrial and trade practices include large-scale subsidies, forced technology transfers, and obstructing market access to foreign firms and underscore the nation's disregard for its international trade commitments. Beyond merely breaking the rules, the Chinese government is seeking to dictate the terms and conditions of the future of global trade and to do so for their own benefit. In the absence of a concerted American policy response, Made in China 2025 threatens to replicate the effects of the China shock on high-value capital goods, such as computers and aerospace products. It is important to note that these threats to American competitiveness are not contingent upon the total success of Made in China 2025 or any other industrial plan. Command and control central planning is a flawed economic approach with countless pitfalls and downsides. However, as many American workers know personally, this does not mean that such an approach cannot have devastating impacts on U.S. production, jobs, and particularly U.S. small businesses. In many important measures, China has already achieved success, capturing leading positions in global economic standings that were previously held by the United States. In order to confront this challenge, we must choose to prioritize national development, economic dynamism, and small business competitiveness. This growth agenda entails a focus on domestic physical investment and labor capital stabilization. It also means that we must enact in-kind responses to malicious Chinese trade and industrial practices. An economic development agency, the Small Business Administration, is particularly suited. As an economic development agency, the Small Business Administration is particularly suited to support innovation-focused production ecosystems. Programs such as the Small Business Investment Company and the Small Business Innovation Research and Small Business Technology Transfer, these serve as tools which can be used to further promote a nimble, innovative, and high-growth industrial strategy. I look forward to engaging with the witnesses to explore the findings of our study, our report, and also their views on this and its implications for the future of American competitiveness. And now I turn it over to the ranking member.